So you sent us some pieces from Dr. Roy's The Unforced Rhythm of Life.
Hmm.
And wow, what a title.
It is a good one.
It seems like you're really looking to understand this whole idea of an unforced rhythm.
Yeah.
It gets into some pretty deep stuff.
Mhm.
Spirituality,
Right.
self-awareness, even how the way we see things shapes our world.
It does.
Ready to jump in.
Yeah. I'm excited to dive into this with you.
Great.
Dr. Roy's ideas are definitely thought-provoking.
They are.
His main point is that we're all inherently divine,
Okay.
carrying a spark of the Holy Spirit within us.
Mm.
It's a different way of looking at things than the idea that we need to search for something outside ourselves
Right.
to feel whole.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
And he doesn't shy away from challenging traditional religious ideas, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Like, he points out how societal norms and even some religious teachings can cloud this inherent divinity,
Right.
making us feel like we're lacking something. It's like we're always chasing something we already have, right?
Exactly. He even reinterprets some familiar Bible passages
Oh, really?
to support this idea.
Okay.
Like, you know that verse in John 10:10 where it says we can have life more abundantly? Dr. Roy emphasizes that word have.
Interesting.
He's saying we already possess this abundant life.
Okay.
It's not something we need to wait for or earn.
That's a pretty powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
It's not about achieving a connection with something divine.
Right.
It's about recognizing that it's already there inside us.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt like you're constantly striving for something more? Like you're not quite good enough?
Definitely.
Dr. Roy's saying that maybe we already have everything we need
Yeah.
right here, right now.
He even takes on the law of sowing and reaping.
Interesting.
You know, the idea that you reap what you sow.
Sure.
He says it can actually make us feel more judgmental and fearful, instead of connecting us to a sense of inherent worthiness.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's like if you're always focused on what you need to do to earn good things,
Yeah,
you might miss out on appreciating the good that's already present in your life.
exactly.
So true.
He contrasts it with what he calls the law of spirit and life,
Okay.
which is about recognizing that we are inherently connected to this source of goodness and abundance.
So it's not about striving and the struggling. It's
Right.
about tapping into something deeper.
Exactly. Dr. Roy even uses the story of Cain and Abel
Really?
to illustrate this.
Wow.
He portrays Cain as someone desperately seeking external validation,
Interesting.
while Abel represents the peace that comes from recognizing your own inherent worth. It's like a metaphor for the inner battles we all face, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
That constant struggle between seeking approval from others
Right.
versus knowing your own value.
And he even uses the word psychobabble
He does.
to describe how sometimes we just blindly accept beliefs
Yeah.
without ever questioning if they actually resonate with us.
It's easy to get caught up in popular ideas
Uh-huh.
or what we've always been told.
Right.
But Dr. Roy encourages us to really examine those beliefs
I see.
and see if they align with our own inner knowing.
So how do we start to dismantle this psychobabble?
That's a great question.
How do we connect with that divine spark that Dr. Roy says is already within us?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Dr. Roy talks about embracing what he calls the unforced rhythm of life.
Interesting.
And I think that's where we should head next.
Sounds good to me. Let's dive into this idea of the divine within, because
Sure.
that seems to be the foundation of Dr. Roy's whole argument.
Absolutely.
It's like he's saying that we're not separate from the divine,
Right.
but rather a part of it.
Yeah,
He uses this beautiful analogy
he does.
of a seed and fruit, suggesting that just as a seed contains the blueprint for the entire tree.
Yeah. We carry within us the potential to express the fullness of the divine.
It's a beautiful analogy.
Okay, so he's saying we're not just striving to connect with something outside ourselves,
Right.
but that we actually embody that divine spark already.
Yes,
That's a pretty radical idea.
it is.
He describes it as spirit slowed down to visibility,
Yes, a great way to put it.
meaning that we are tangible expressions of the divine, not separate entities trying to reach it.
I like that.
Wow, spirit slowed down to visibility. That's a pretty powerful image.
It is.
It makes you think about your place in the universe in a whole new way, doesn't it?
It really does.
If we really grasped this idea of inherent divinity,
Yeah.
wouldn't that change everything about how we see ourselves
It would.
and our purpose in the world?
Absolutely.
It could completely transform our understanding of self-worth,
Right.
our relationships with others, and even how we interact with the world around us.
It would change everything. It makes you wonder, though, if this divinity is already within us, why aren't we all experiencing it fully?
That is the question.
What's blocking that recognition?
That's a great question. And it leads us to one of Dr. Roy's most intriguing concepts,
Okay.
what he calls the subconscious barrier.
Oh, wow.
He argues that our subconscious mind, shaped by years of societal conditioning,
Right.
and perhaps even some religious doctrines,
Okay.
can actually prevent us from recognizing our inherent divinity.
So it's like our subconscious mind is acting as a filter,
Yeah.
distorting our perception of reality and preventing us from seeing our true nature.
Exactly.
It's like he's saying we've built our own internal Tower of Babel,
Yeah, like that.
filled with confusing and conflicting beliefs that separate us from that divine spark within.
Good analogy.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all connects. So we've got this inherent divinity within us,
Right.
but our subconscious mind,
Yeah.
shaped by all these external influences, is preventing us from fully experiencing it.
That's right.
The big question then becomes, how do we break through this barrier?
Yes.
How do we dismantle our internal Tower of Babel
Right.
and start living from that place of inherent wholeness?
That's what we're going to talk about next.
All right, perfect. Looking forward to it.
Me too. So you're curious about how to actually live in this unforced rhythm.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
It is pretty great.
But a little too good to be true, don't you think?
Well,
I mean, life throws curveballs, right?
it does.
How can we just go with the flow
Right.
when there are deadlines, responsibilities, unexpected challenges?
Of course.
Wouldn't that make us passive
Well, no.
or irresponsible?
That's where I think Dr. Roy's concept of minimal mindfulness comes in.
Okay,
It's not about ignoring our obligations
right.
or checking out of reality.
I see.
It's more about shifting our focus
Okay.
instead of dwelling on what we lack or what we need to do.
Mm.
We can turn our attention to the abundance that's already present.
Okay, I'm starting to see the difference.
Good.
So it's not about being passive.
No.
It's about being mindful of where our energy is going.
Exactly.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
Well, Dr. Roy suggests things like meditation,
Okay.
spending time in nature, really anything that quiets the mind
Sure.
and allows us to connect with that deeper stillness within.
Just being present.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He also emphasizes the importance of becoming aware
Right.
of those subconscious beliefs that keep us stuck
Okay.
in patterns of lack and striving.
So it's about becoming more aware of our thoughts and beliefs.
Yes,
Without judgment.
exactly.
And then making conscious choices that align with our true nature.
You got it.
Yeah.
And this is where Dr. Roy draws an interesting distinction
Okay.
between faith and knowing.
Interesting.
He suggests that often we start with faith, a kind of hopeful belief. But over time, as we deepen our understanding and experience, that faith can evolve into a state of knowing,
Okay.
a deep inner certainty
Right.
of our connection to the divine.
So it's like moving from I hope things will get better
Right.
to I know that I am already whole and complete.
Exactly.
That's a huge shift.
It is.
But how do we actually make that shift?
Well, Dr. Roy offers a really interesting interpretation
Okay.
of a familiar Bible verse.
All right.
You know that line from Romans 1:17 that says, "The just shall live by faith."
Yeah.
He suggests that it should actually be understood as,
Okay.
"The just shall live by knowing,"
Wow.
implying that true righteousness
Mm-hmm.
comes from a deep inner knowing,
Right.
not just blind faith.
Wow, that's a powerful reinterpretation.
It is.
It's like he's saying that true faith isn't just about believing without evidence.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a deep inner knowing
Right?
based on experience and personal revelation.
Exactly. And that knowing leads to action. Dr. Roy is a big believer in taking action.
So it's not just sitting around meditating all day.
No, it's not passive,
Okay, good.
but it's action that flows from this place of inner alignment,
Mm-hmm.
not from a sense of fear or lack.
Right.
He even uses the term reclaiming our dominion
Interesting.
to describe this empowered way of being.
I love that phrase, reclaiming our dominion.
Yeah.
It's like we've been given the keys to our own kingdom,
Right.
but we've forgotten how to use them.
We have.
But what does it actually look like to step into that dominion? How do we move from feeling powerless to feeling empowered?
Dr. Roy believes it starts with recognizing our inherent worthiness.
Okay.
We have to let go of those limiting beliefs that make us feel small
Right.
or inadequate.
Like we're not good enough.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
He emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility for our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, recognizing that we have the power to choose a different path.
So it's not about blaming others?
No.
Or feeling like a victim of our circumstances?
Exactly.
It's about owning our inner world.
Yes.
And recognizing that we have the power to create our reality.
Exactly. And it extends to our actions, too.
Okay, how so?
Dr. Roy talks about acting from a place of love and compassion, recognizing that we are all interconnected,
Okay.
like threads in a beautiful tapestry.
I like that.
Each of us has a unique role to play
Right.
in creating a more harmonious world.
It's a beautiful image,
It is.
but it also feels like a big responsibility if we're all connected.
Yeah,
How can we even begin to make a difference?
that's a good question.
It feels like there are so many problems in the world.
There are.
Yeah.
Dr. Roy suggests that it starts with our own inner transformation.
Oh, okay.
As we awaken to our own inner light, we become beacons of hope and inspiration for others.
So the idea is that by focusing on our own inner work,
Yes.
we can create a ripple effect that extends outward, contributing to a more awakened and compassionate world.
Exactly. It's like each of us is a drop of water,
I see.
creating ripples in a pond.
Yeah.
As we awaken to our true nature,
Right.
those ripples spread outward, touching and transforming everyone around us.
It sounds like Dr. Roy is calling for a complete paradigm shift,
He is.
both in how we see ourselves and how we interact with the world.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty bold vision,
It is.
but I think it's one worth exploring.
It is.
He challenges us to question our assumptions, to let go of old ways of thinking,
Yeah.
and to embrace a new way of being
Right.
that's grounded in love, compassion, and the recognition of our shared divinity.
It does.
It's a lot to take in, but it's incredibly inspiring.
It is.
I'm curious to hear more about how this idea of reclaiming our dominion
Okay.
plays out in practical terms.
Sure.
How do we actually go about creating a world that reflects our collective divinity?
Well, I think that's a great place to start our next conversation.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about creating a world that reflects our collective divinity.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big goal, wouldn't you say?
It is a big one.
Where do we even begin?
Well, Dr. Roy emphasizes this idea
Okay.
of moving beyond a victim mentality.
Right.
It's so easy to feel powerless
It is.
in the face of all the challenges we see in the world.
For sure.
But he reminds us that we're not passive bystanders.
Okay.
We have the power
Right.
to choose our thoughts,
Uh-huh.
our beliefs,
Yeah.
and our actions.
I see.
And those choices shape the world around us.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed by the problems,
Right.
we can focus on what we can do
Yeah.
to make a positive difference.
Exactly. He even connects this to the concept of a day of resurrection.
Interesting.
Not as some future event,
Okay.
but as an ongoing process of awakening to our true nature.
So it's not about waiting for some external savior
No.
to come and fix everything.
Right.
It's about each of us stepping into our full potential
Yes.
and creating a world
Uh-huh.
that reflects that inner transformation.
Yes. It's about shedding those layers of conditioning
Right.
and limiting beliefs
Yeah.
that keep us feeling small and powerless.
Small, powerless, not good enough.
Exactly.
All those things.
It's about choosing to live from a place of love,
Okay.
compassion,
Yeah.
and connection.
Dr. Roy also talks about the role of first-in-rank messengers.
He does.
What did he mean by that?
He's talking about people who are further along this path of spiritual understanding. Folks who have had those aha moments and can help guide and support others.
So they've kind of figured some things out,
Yeah.
and they can help other people along the path.
They're like beacons of light,
Oh, I like that.
illuminating the path. For those who are still searching,
Yeah, that makes sense.
he even uses the image of golden candlesticks
Wow.
from the book of Revelation
Oh, yeah.
to describe these messengers,
Interesting.
radiating truth and wisdom.
I like that image.
Yeah.
It's like each of us has the potential to be a light in the world,
To do.
sharing our unique gifts and insights to
Right.
help others find their way.
I like that.
But I have to ask,
Sure.
if this unforced rhythm is about aligning with our true nature,
Yeah.
how do we deal with all the tough stuff
Right.
that life throws our way?
Of course.
I mean, there's still going to be pain, loss, disappointment, right?
That's where the practice of stillness
Okay.
and connecting with that inner guidance becomes really important.
Okay.
Dr. Roy suggests that by quieting the mind,
Right.
even for a few minutes each day,
Yeah.
we can access a deep well of wisdom and strength.
So even when things are difficult, we can find a sense of peace and clarity by connecting with that inner source.
He even suggests that when we truly embrace this unforced rhythm, those external challenges can start to lose their grip on us.
Interesting.
It's not that they disappear,
Right.
but we experience them differently, with more grace and resilience.
It's like shifting our perspective.
Yes.
Recognizing that even in the midst of difficulty, there's a deeper order at play, a divine unfolding that we might not always understand.
He also talks about the power of persuasion.
Okay.
It's about moving beyond hoping for a better future
Right.
to knowing with absolute certainty that a better future is already within us.
So it's not about hoping.
No.
It's about knowing.
It's about replacing doubt and fear with the unwavering conviction that we are already whole and complete.
I remember he had a really interesting take on that verse from Romans.
Yes.
The one that says, the just shall live by faith.
He does.
He suggests it should actually be interpreted as, the just shall live by knowing.
Right. He's saying that true righteousness comes from a deep inner knowing, not just blind faith.
It's about that shift from I hope to I know.
Exactly.
It's about embodying that unforced rhythm in every aspect of our lives, our relationships, our work, our creativity, our connection to the world around us.
This deep dive has really just scratched the surface.
Oh no, right?
Of Dr. Roy's work.
It feels like we could talk for hours.
We could.
But I think it's given us a lot to think about.
It has.
He definitely challenges us to rethink our relationship with the divine, to let go of limiting beliefs, and to embrace the unforced rhythm of a life that's aligned with our true nature.
And I love that question he poses at the end.
Me too. Which one?
If we are all part of one divine body, how might this awareness shift our interactions with each other and inspire us to co-create a world that reflects our collective divinity?
It's a powerful invitation to consider how our individual choices and actions contribute to the larger whole.
It reminds us that we're all in this together.
We are.
Creating the world we want to see.
Absolutely.
One thought, one action, one choice at a time.
This has been a fascinating exploration.
It has.
And I hope it's given you some food for thought.
Me too.
Dr. Roy's work offers a unique and inspiring perspective.
He does.
And I encourage you to keep exploring these ideas.
Yes.
Who knows what amazing transformations might unfold?
Who knows?
As you begin to tap into the unforced rhythm that's waiting within you.
It is there.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.